Hello and welcome to Bid It Bill It. My name is Randall. I would normally focus on just my Bid It Bill It software app, but I want to depart from that today and talk to the one to two-man business that's trying to grow their business, trying to build a better reputation and respectful reputation in the community. If you don't know, here in Southwest Florida, we had a major hurricane come through, one of the worst on record, and really cause some destruction, which obviously means you got to have contractors, clean up people, clean up crews, all kinds of folks. So I've been dealing with those almost nonstop for months now, both for myself and family and friends, because they just don't understand the lingo and contracts like I do. So I wrote myself some notes because I was very curious as to why does someone pick one guy over the other? Many times they'd have bids out in front of them, multiples. And I'm like, well, why are you picking that one over this one? Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. But I wrote some notes down, and some of the commonalities were drastic. One of them is my personal pet peeve. Basic grammar seemed to be lacking in a lot of individual contractors, and I think it's super easy to fix, but some of the phrases that came out of people's mouths were, I seen that before, I ain't got no, and I done a job over and blah, blah, blah. Now look, I am no wordsmith by any stretch, although I do have a PhD in redneck, so I understand the language. I would say do your best, especially when it's someone that you don't know. Use proper grammar, and it will take you a long way. The respect that people give you versus when you use a phrase like I got no, you can physically see someone change just hearing those phrases. The other one was appearance. Now, appearance can be judged in lots of ways. It could be your vehicle, could be your personal appearance. I would say always look your best as possible. Now, I realize sometimes if you're in the middle of a job, you have to finish up, and the only option you have to make the bid is after work and you're filthy. Sometimes you can't avoid that. I'll give you some hints or some tips maybe. Keep an extra set of clothes in your truck or your car. So just in case, you could always clean up your hands and face and then throw another pair of clothes on and at least go that way. If for some reason you don't, and the only option you have is to go dirty, pick up the phone and say, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I wanted to let you know I'm coming over. I'm finishing up a job. I am absolutely filthy. I will clean up as much as I can, but I'm going to come in a way that I don't normally do that. It tells that customer that you care about your appearance, yourself, and your business. And it also lets them know that you care about them too. And that goes a long way. And they will forgive a lot when they know that in advance. So just give them a heads up. One of the other ones that just kind of drives you crazy is people who don't follow up, or they follow up so late that regardless if you've had the job done or not, you wouldn't let them do it. I literally had one just a couple weeks ago call me. They said, oh, remember I was going to come out? And I said, I remember you were going to come out, but that was months ago. The job's finished and paid for, so thanks for calling, but it's a little too late for that. So in my opinion, the best time to get a job is when you're standing in front of that potential customer, because here's what happens. If you wait, one, it shows that you may or may not be that interested, but two, if there's multiple bids in front of someone, they're not likely to remember all the details that you do. So they're left with just pieces of paper in front of them, and some of the bids look really nice. They're printed nicely in packets. Others don't. They're going to tend to lean towards those other packets, right? So the best time to do that, and this is the one time I will point out my business, Bid It Bill It, you can create your bids and invoices right then and there with my app. Create it, put as many notes as you want, and send it immediately. So that's the best time to do that. And also, you don't want to do 10 bids on Friday night unless you have to, right? The last but not least is workmanship. I would say two things about workmanship. Set clear expectations up front of what you think the job is going to look like, and then ask the customer what they think it's going to look like. I've seen more and had more personally problems when I didn't set that expectation, because in my mind, it's a 40-year-old home. I realize it's not going to look new, whatever I do, unless I tear it down and start over. It's not going to look new. To the customer, they may believe in their minds, oh, I'm going to walk in. The guy was going to paint my room. You put a new color on, and that's all there is to it. It went from green to blue. They get upset. I thought it was going to look new. No, it's not. So set that expectation. The other one is, I personally, at this point, would not want to take any jobs that you can't do your absolute 100% best on. Here's what happens with that. When you give people an option for 1, 2, or 3 tiers, so for this price, I'll do this, this, and this, and on up, they tend to not take that top one, and then later on they forget, and they're walking around their home with a neighbor or a friend, and they say, well, who did this for you? Well, so-and-so did. Now you're stuck with that, even though in your bid and in your conversation, you told them, for this price, I can do this level of work. It's always best, if you can, to do the best level work that you can. Hey, I know business is awesome right now, and it is everywhere across the nation, but there's a lot of laziness out there. There's a lot of poor follow-up, poor grammar, just showing up late, not looking good. Things are cyclical. What goes up will go down. And when things are down, people remember whether you were on time, whether you were courteous, whether you spoke well, and a lot less focus on the price. They will come back to you when times are bad, and that's when you really build your client base. Hey, thanks for stopping by Bid It, Bill It. I appreciate your time.